50 years ago today, mankind completed arguably the biggest achievement in the history of man. Don't go away. Hey everybody, it is July 20th. I am Paul from Fat Guy Productions, coming to you as always from beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. And yes, indeedy, it's been 50 years since mankind stepped on the surface of the moon. A feat that just is beyond compare. The magnitude, the number of people that worked to make this happen, the risks that were taken, the daring, the bravado, the cost, everything that went into making that happen. We were more than just one nation. We were one people globally. Sadly, we've strayed from that. We're so divided. And it doesn't matter if you're on the right or the left. It's irrelevant. There's plenty of blame to go around for everybody. Can we ever get back to where we were 50 years ago? My intellect says no, but my heart is ever hopeful. And so I would say, today, just make a promise to yourself to pull back a little. Take out some of the hate and some of the name calling. We can't hear each other when we're mad at each other. All it becomes is this big shouting match with everybody trying to out-ugly each other. But maybe if we stop calling each other names, maybe if we start loving each other and refuse to just blindly hate, maybe we can get back to where we were 50 years ago. Alright, enough of that. Today, we are doing a Matchbox build, and I gotta tell you, every now and then it's really nice to go home and be comfortable and step back to something that's simple. And so today, we're gonna do just that as we tackle the Lesney Matchbox TV service van. Let's get to it. Boy, I'll tell you what, every now and then it's nice to just go back to something fun and simple. Like hopefully the Rentaset TV van is going to be for me today. This is made by Lesney Hotwheels, and as you can see, mine's not in great shape. It doesn't have any of the decals, it doesn't have the antenna or the ladder or the TVs. It's got some stuff shoved in the back, it's missing its rear door. So there's some issues with this thing, and overall it looks like a fun restoration to me, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. So this casting doesn't have any rivets in it. It just has two tabs, one at the front and one at the back, and you just kind of spring open the back end here a little bit with a flat-bladed screwdriver to get that tab to clear the slot, and it'll pop right out. Now, I gotta tell you, I'm not a fan of this because I can't think of any way off the top of my head to put this back together without messing up the paint at least a little bit. Maybe that's something I need to really think about and try and develop, but for now, this is what I've got to deal with. Alright, so the body finally comes off, and you can see it's an unusual situation. It's designed that way to make it so the rear door will slide up and down, so it's pretty clever. And then, I'm not sure what this cargo is, but somebody is pretty pissed because they never got their delivery, so I don't know what they are, but somebody's hopping mad right now. Alright, the base does actually look in pretty good shape. It's a little bent in the back here. I'll just straighten that out with my finger a little bit later. And looking here is a surprise for me, and this is actually the second time I've found this. Well, I've seen it. Right now, I found my door tucked up into the ceiling, and in somebody else's restoration, I think Marty was doing one of these, and his door was up there too. So don't automatically assume your door is gone. It could be up in the ceiling there. So Surprise for me. Now I've got two of them. All right, now the glass is, as typical, is riveted into the cab. Really wish they hadn't done that, but whatever. So we'll just drill that rivet out, take the windshield out, and put it aside. With the rivet properly drilled away, being careful not to go through the hood or break your window, we can reach in and kind of just pop it out. And here it comes. It's got the windshield, the side glass, and also the little sunroof piece that goes into this thing. So mine look pretty good. I do have a spare, so we'll pick which one we use later. Alright, since the vehicle's apart and I have all the parts here, I can kind of at least get an idea how this whole sliding door thing works. And it's pretty clever. It's got little fingers on either side of it to help hold it into its path. And then it just follows up and down that little metal structure. And clearly, though, there is a design problem in that there's not really a good stop for it. So you push it up too far, it's going to pop up into the roof, never to be seen again. And that seems to be a common trait to these things. But once you get it in there, it works pretty good. It's pretty cool. So as usual, I took the body and the base for a swim in the paint stripper, and I didn't really need to sweat keeping any colors or anything like that, because I have another one of these that I can use to get the paint color. So we took it for a swim in the paint stripper, and now I've got it back. It's been washed, and I can do some of the fine work on this. There's so many little nooks and crannies here that the dental pick is a must on this casting. Okay, so we can go ahead and hit the body up with a little 4-0 steel wool just to kind of get everything smoothed and homogenized to make sure it looks nice. Obviously, it would be more important with translucent paint. And I got to tell you, this casting is a lot of fun, and it really tempted me to do some custom stuff to it. I have decided to behave myself, and I'm going to keep it simple and do a restoration, but man, if you wanted to do a custom here, you could have a lot of fun with this sucker. The steel wool didn't do as good a job as I would have liked, so I'm also going to give this a once-over with my wire wheel on my rotary tool. It'll bring up a little bit more shine than the steel wool did, and kind of address any little nicks or bumps or anything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and go over the entire car, and then we should be just about ready to go over to the paint booth. Okay, and trying to keep with my word, you'll notice that my paint booth is actually pretty clean. I'm trying to keep it on some sort of a rotation and keep it cleaned up. So we've got a nice, fresh, clean paint booth here. And as always, I'll start by misting the thing down with some water just to help keep any dust or anything from flying about. And now it calls for a little Tamiya fine primer. I've said this before. This stuff is just expensive. It's like you're spraying gold on these things or something. It's really insane for these little cans how expensive it is. But having said that, first of all, these cans go a long, long way. Second of all, the job they do is second to none. The minute you spray a car with this, you will know why you spent so much on Tamiya Fine Primer. It's worth every penny. Really happy with it. I would never use anything else when I'm trying to make sure I don't obliterate details. Okay, so it's about time to mix up some paint, and here's another Rentaset van I have. And clearly the majority of the color is going to be white, so I'll use a nice base of Tamiya white. And I also have a little bit of the X8 lemon yellow. I'm using the gloss paints here because I do not intend to clear coat this. So I'll tell you about that in just a second. Anyhow, so start with your white, get the bulk of the color that you need, and then start to work on getting it to the right shade. If you start the other way, it's a lot harder to do, really. So we've got the white in, we'll add a little bit of yellow, and it's probably going to be too bright. Later on I'll probably have to bring in some black here and tone it down a little bit, because it's not just the saturation and the color, it's the hue, it's all of that together. Now, as always, I'm going to be thinning my paint concoction down with Tamiya X20, and because, again, I'm not going to use a clear coat on this car, I'm also going to make sure I put a healthy dose of Mr. Color Self-Leveling Thinner into the mix. Now, so while we have a second, why am I not going to clear coat this? Well, I'm trying to do closer to a restoration than anything else. And the vehicle, they didn't clear coat these things, okay? They put the fast, quick gloss paint job on them. They threw the decals on them, and that's what you got. And so that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get the gloss of the Tamiya gloss paints, which I think is just about the right amount. Whereas if I put clear coat on it, it's really going to kind of take it a little too far for me. Plus, I don't want to seal the decals in. I want them to sit on top. I actually, in this case, want to be able to see a little bit of the edge of the decal. I want you to see that decal there. I want it just like you would have if it was right out of the package. So, okay, that's why I'm not going to clear coat it. So let's get back to mixing the paint, and as you mix it, you can dab it onto the other vehicle. I can always just wipe that right off, so I'm not hurting this other vehicle. And it's a great way to try and get the paint mixed up. At the end of the day, though, I'm going to end up a good shade or two lighter than what you're seeing here on this van. I thought I was pretty close in the mix, and I'm wondering if it was the lightness of the primer or what have you. I don't really know how I ended up so light, but having said that, I still think it came out amazing and it looks fantastic, so I'm not going to sweat it. Yeah, and like I said, it is still a little too light. And in the end, it's going to still be too light, but I did try to bring it a little bit to the darker side by adding just the smallest amounts of Tamiya black. I'm really just using a toothpick with some black paint on it to add the black. That's how little I'm trying to put in here. I don't want to shoot past my mark and have to volleyball back and forth with this color, so just trying to creep up onto it. Now, keeping in mind that I'm not going to put a clear coat down, I'm going to try to do an extra special job on the paint that I'm putting down here. I'm not really going to stray from my formula of tack coat, medium coats, wet coats, but when I get to those wet coats, I'm going to have to be really, really careful here. I need to get a very smooth glass-like finish out of this paint job, so I'm going to have to pay a lot of attention to it and make sure I don't miss. Okay, and you can already see just how light this is coming out. More like coffee creamer than a little bit of a yellowish white. So, I missed, but I still think it looks great, and I didn't miss enough that I'm going to go back and redo it because I'm liking the way it looks. So I'm just going to forge ahead here and chalk that up as another mistake in the millions of mistakes that you make when you participate in a hobby like this. Okay, so it's really starting to look pretty good, and with the additional coats, it brought the color down a little bit. So it's not as white as I thought it was going to be at first, but it's certainly not as yellow as the other van that I had. But also, you got to figure that the paint has yellowed over time, so who knows how far I really am off of what it should have been. Uh, Either way, I'm not going to worry about it, and it's starting to look really great. We'll wrap this up and put it aside to dry thoroughly before we touch it again. Okay, so my window glass is in really nice shape. No cracks or scratches, and I attribute part of that to the casting itself. It was a pretty deep casting, and the worst part of it was the sunroof, but it was nice and flat and easy to shine up, so I did that and cleaned it all up and polished it. And now it's time for my favorite thing, a dip into the gauzy. So we'll just kind of mix it a little bit very gently so as not to put a bunch of bubbles in it. Got our little paper towel to the side and our drawing plate and stick. Find a place to grab it and take it for a swim. Yeah, that's the stuff right there. That's what I'm talking about. And that's going to make that glass look just amazing. So we'll shake off the excess. Then we'll wick away any little drops from the corners. And once we've done that, we can go ahead and set it down, cover it, put it aside to dry. And when we're ready for it, it is going to be brilliant and wonderful and look amazing in this restoration. Alright, so we painted the base gloss black. The body has been drying. The window has been drying. The wheels have been cleaned up. We've got our replacement parts. I think we can put this sucker back together. So, I don't know that there's a lot to the substructure to hold this window in place other than what used to be that rivet. So, for sure, this is going to get a little my clear silicone. So, we'll get in here, scoop a little bit out. We'll put some on the roof. Then we can go ahead and put the glass piece back in, and that silicone will hold the windshield in should nothing else be doing the job. Won't have to worry about it just dropping out. I gotta tell you, the glass really came out spectacular, so I'm really, really happy with that. And now the trick is getting it in place without getting a bunch of silicone in places you don't want it. So you need to move carefully here, and once we get it, kind of make sure we press it down and get a little press fit over that rivet that used to be there to hold it. And that should do it. Between that and the friction and the silicone, we should be okay here. Even as it's dried, the paint has turned a little bit more yellow, so more and more I'm happy with the color. But look at that glass in there, okay? Look how bright and shiny that is. That came out just absolutely perfect. I like the amount of shine I'm getting from the straight Tamiya paint, and I love the way the decals are sitting on it. So far, it's coming out excellent. Okay, so I decided to use the reproduction door because it's white, and I think it looks nice against the kind of a creamy color of the body. And now the big trick is trying to figure out how to put this all back together. Get the door in the right place, get that body in the right place, and then lock it down. So it takes a little trial and error, and it's all made worse by the fact that you're trying to do this without screwing up your paint jobs. So, we just have to work on it. And I've got the door kind of laid in there. And now I'm kind of trying to get the front tab into the body, and then we'll try and figure out how to lock it down. Okay, so I do have everything sandwiched together. The door is in place, the base is in with the front tab clicked in. Now I just need to figure out how am I going to get this back tab in there and not screw up either the paint on the body or the base. The door seems to be moving properly. It seems to be lined up pretty good. So I'm comfortable with all of that. I've got my flat-bladed screwdriver here, which is about the smallest pry-y thing I think that will work here. But, man, I'm really not happy about having to put this metal up against my fresh paint jobs. I wish there was a better way to do this. Maybe that's what the other van is here for. Maybe it's here for me to test on and learn. So, I don't know. I don't know if I can make myself do that or not. But it sure would be nice to figure out how they were doing this in the factory. In the end, what I'm going to do is I've got the screwdriver in underneath the back bumper of the truck and over the tab that has to click in. And then I'm going to pry towards the front, which will push the bumper out and away and let that base kind of slide in and pop in just like that. Sadly, yes, it does damage your paint. So if you're going to do one of these, it might be a really great idea to save a little bit of your body color. I didn't think of that, but if you saved a little bit of your body color in a little sealable container, you can come back and touch that little spot up. It's not a huge thing, it's not the end of the world, but I sure didn't like it. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and put on all the little accessories that I ordered. It comes with everything that this van should have had, the ladder, the antenna, the TVs, and I'm using a pair of sharp side cutters I use for plastic model building to remove all the parts from the sprue, and then I'll clean them up with an X-Acto knife briefly, and then we can stick everything on here and we can call this thing done. Antenna, check. Ladder, check. TV's in the back, check. We are ready for the road. And here it is, my Rentaset TV service van, all redone and looking sharp, if I do say so myself. Yeah, this was a quicker, easier build. Something, I haven't been doing a lot of lately. I've been trying to really push myself on my builds. And so it was really nice to kind of step back and do something easy and fun like this project was. I really hope you enjoyed it. Well, there she is, the TV service van. I think it looks great. Honestly, it's one of my nicer restorations. I think it looks beautiful. You could argue that it's a little bit too light, but I actually really like the color. I like that I didn't put the clear coat on, which is sort of like a hallmark of mine. I love everything about it, and it was fun to step back and tackle a project that wasn't just stressful and so big. It was nice to just go back and build something fun and simple. Alright, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and click subscribe. Click the little bell, you'll be notified anytime I release a new video. And if you have any questions or comments, ask them down below. I do read everything, even the very hurtful stuff. You know who you are. Alright, this is Paul from Fat Guy Productions. I'm going to get out of here. Until next time, I hope you have a great, amazing day, and a day to reflect upon what happened 50 years ago, because it was really special, and we may never see in our lifetimes again a period where we have been so united in one cause. So I hope you have a super awesome day, and until next time, be good.